Hello everyone and welcome to the first video for COM 101 Online for Fall 2017. My name's Adam Porter. I am your professor for the course. I'm very happy to have you in the class, so welcome. This is a class that I've taught every semester that I've been here at Parkland College. This is my fourth year, and it's a class that I really like to teach. I also teach all of the radio broadcasting and production classes, as well as all of the music recording classes, and I'm the faculty advisor for the student-staffed record label on campus as well, known as Perimeter Road. So this is a class that is not just about audio, things like music recording and radio, all of the other classes that I teach, but rather it's a wide, broad class about all of the mass media industries that fall under that mass communication umbrella, and really gives you kind of an introduction to all aspects of the media that constantly surrounds us on a day-to-day basis. So it's a very interesting class. It's a really good introductory communications course. So we're looking at, not only traditional media, things like broadcast media like radio and television, both broadcast TV and cable, film, motion pictures, other more traditional forms of media, but we're also looking at more newer forms of media. Obviously, the internet being the biggest one, video games, social media, all of these media vehicles that have become a day-to-day part of our lives, not only in the way that we entertain ourselves, but in the way that we communicate with one another, the way that we access information, the way that we stay up to date on current events. So obviously all of these forms of media play a very important role in not only how we communicate, but how we understand society and how opinions are made and how public opinions are shifted, and on all of these things are important to discuss and become more knowledgeable about, and that's what this class is all about. You'll also have an opportunity to learn about media careers that are available to you, and have an opportunity to further explore those that you might be interested in, and maybe learn more about ones that maybe you didn't think you were interested in, and maybe you are now, or maybe you will be after learning and reading about them in this class. So welcome to COM 101. I hope that sounds interesting, because that's what we're going to be focusing on for these next 13 weeks. This is a shortened version class, and it's also 100% online. So that means that we've got to fit 16 weeks worth of content into 13 weeks, and we do that all via Cobra, which is our online course site, and that requires a little bit more kind of self-motivation on your parts, and making sure that you're checking online on a regular basis and staying up with the course material. And I will say, make sure you're checking your student email if you're not already. That is the primary way that I communicate with you guys. I've already sent out a couple really important emails, and I will continue to do that throughout the course of the semester. So make sure you're checking that on a regular basis. This first video is all about introducing you to the syllabus, which I'm sure most of you have already taken a look at, and also just looking through Cobra and making sure everybody is on the same page as far as where you access the content, how you turn your work in, and things like that. So this is COM 101. 251W is our section. Meets 100% online. If you ever have any questions, the best way to get a hold of me is via email. This aporter@parkland.edu. You can email me at any time with any questions, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Obviously, we do have a textbook for the class. I know that most of you have gained access to that, because I can see that via Connect. But if you have not, It is available in the Parkland bookstore as an access code. You can just go to the front desk. It is by Barron. It's Introduction to Mass Communication, Media Literacy, and Culture. It's the updated 8th edition. So this is a smart book. It's fully online. And once again, the access codes are available at the front desk of the Parkland bookstore. You can also gain access directly from the link via Cobra, which I will show you guys here shortly in this video. So make sure you get access to that as soon as possible if you haven't already. Just a note, if you are having difficulties gaining access due to whatever issue, you can get temporary access to the text and the practice questions for 2 weeks, up to 14 days, preliminary access without actually paying anything. So that is an option to get started while you figure out the way that you will get the textbook. Okay, so I will leave it up to you to read the course objectives and what I'm expecting you to know after you complete the course. But, you know, in a nutshell, we'll be looking at the history of mass communication industries, things like theories of comm, which is how we understand mass media, how to be a more knowledgeable consumer, career opportunities. We're looking at digital technology and the effect that that's had on mass mediums, how mass media functions globally, and much more. Probably very important to most of you is the methods of evaluation, how you will arrive at your final grade for the course. So just taking a quick look at the breakdown, you take smart quizzes, discussion post, current events assignments, a media use project, a media careers project, and a midterm and a final. That equals out to 1,000 points. So looking a little closer, the smart quizzes, I call them smart quizzes. Those are the practice questions that you answer when you're reading the chapters via Connect, which I will once again show you here in a moment in this video. You're going to do 14 of those throughout the semester at 15 points each, for a total of a little over 20% of your final grade. And once again, refer to that first email I sent out, that introductory email that covered a whole lot of important stuff. I explained those smart quizzes or practice quizzes in a little bit more detail, but they are different than a traditional quiz. It's not how many you got right or wrong, it's how far you went. So once you reach 100% completion, you get 15 out of 15 points. If you're missing questions along the way, it's just going to keep adding more questions. So just keep going until you hit 100% complete. If you don't complete, your score will simply be the percentage that you completed. So 50% would be 7.5 points out of 15 total possible points. We'll have a discussion post for every chapter as we go. You'll have 16 total at 15 points each. The breakdown there is 10 points for your original post, 15 points for at least one reply to another student. That is all about trying to create a discussion about these things that we're reading and doing projects about. Since we don't meet in class, which in my in-person versions of this class, there's a lot of in-class discussion where we further explore these things that we're talking about and reading about. So this is kind of the online way that we can do that. I try to give you something to think about related to the chapters that you're reading, but usually more specific, like, in this first unit, which I know most of you have seen. There was an introductory post, and then there's a post on gatekeepers and how different media outlets cover the same stories in different ways and why that might be. So I was asking you to further explore that. And then that third discussion post on media consolidation, which is basically asking you to answer a couple of questions in regards to the fact that the majority of media out there is controlled by a very small handful of large mass media conglomerates that own so many smaller media companies and control the majority of what we see, both in entertainment, but maybe more importantly in news media. So we're getting less gatekeepers and basically less voices out there, even though it may seem like there's a lot of news outlets. really they're all owned by a very small amount of large companies. So that is obviously very important to be aware of and talk about, and you'll be able to do that in your discussions. We have assignments and projects along the way. Those are papers. Some are a bit different and integrate some other things like putting together a presentation, and so on and so forth. But current events assignments, you do 2 at 75 points each, where you can explore a current thing happening in a chosen media field. So, for instance, if your topic was, television, you might be looking at a big merger or kind of maybe a new, a streaming service or a story out there about whatever, something related to television and how that relates to the future of the industry and mass communication as a whole. You do a media use project, which is coming up in the very next unit, where you explore your own media use. And so a heads up, that's coming very soon. You'll actually be tracking your daily media use for a few days, which is very interesting to see how often you come into contact with media. And that's including everything from, when you listen to music, when you watch TV, when you stream a movie on Netflix, when you look at the internet, when you check Instagram, when you read a news story on your phone, and all of these things are examples of media use. And then we'll talk about how can we analyze what that means about ourselves, and it's a pretty interesting project. We do a media careers project where you get to further explore a media career, so on and so forth. Okay, so I go into further discussion of what's expected of you, due dates and late work, and the course schedule. I stick by the course schedule very closely, so you can always refer to this and see, okay, unit, and just a note, this class is broken down into units. They're either 2 weeks or 1 week long. The midterm and final unit are 1 week, the rest are 2. And for those 2 weeks, you have a number of things to complete. It might be a few chapters to read, corresponding practice quizzes. It might have an assignment or a project to do during the unit as well. And then you will have an end of unit due date. Other than your original post for discussions, which are due 1 week in, the majority of everything else will be due at the end of the unit. And that's how the schedule is going to work. And you can always refer to this and see the breakdown. So for the first unit, you can see you've got 3 modules: introductory module, the mass comm module, and the convergence module. And for each one, I try to list what you need to be doing. So with that said, and that's broken down for the rest of the semester for you. Let's take a look at Cobra real quick. And so this is the landing page. So if you log into Cobra at cobra.parkland.edu, you'll see this. You can click on our course, which is COM 101, which will take you here. And the easiest way to get to the main content that you need for the class is the content link. Click on content, and you will always see the most important stuff over here on the left. This is your table of contents. So you can always refer back to the syllabus up here at the top. It will always be available for you, that syllabus we just went over. Down here in the table of contents, your very first link is to the course text. It says link to McGraw-Hill Connect. The link is called MH Campus LTI, and that is how you will get to the class book. That's how you will answer the practice quizzes. The rest of the material is split into units, which will open as we get to those units in the course schedule. Right now, Unit 1 is the only thing that's open. I've got the introduction to the unit. Everything's due by the 23rd before midnight, and there's 3 submodules within the unit. So you can go to each submodule and see what you need to do. In the introductory info module, you've got the syllabus, some important FAQs and getting started info, and then that first discussion topic where the majority of you have introduced yourself. Thank you. Great to get to know all of you a little bit more. And you can also reply to others. You can access that discussion topic right here in the module. You can also always go up here and access it again from the discussion link up at the top, which I will go to here in a minute.